Manifestation and creation. Here I will address a topic that is of great concern for a number of you. You are, in your present state of evolution, opening to see more about your true nature as divine, creative beings, about who you really are. And as you are going down the path of understanding how you have created all that you have created, this will serve you in beginning a new chapter now, so that you can proceed with creating what you wish to create. Creation is the topic. I will frame it in terms of universal law. When I say creation, sometimes it can also be useful to include the word manifestation. There are many teachings being brought through to those on earth that focus on manifestation. So I will use these terms today interchangeably. There are certain connotations that will arise for you when I use the word creation, and there are certain other connotations that will arise when I use the word manifestation. I would like for you to become conscious of how you have come to understand these words as separate concepts. As you will read in this chapter, they are the same thing. At this stage of your evolution, I come through to reveal a perspective to you on yourselves as divine, powerful, creative beings. If you are familiar with various teachings that I offer through this channel, you will have noted that my purpose, my commitment, is to support you in unfolding as a divine being. This is part of the perfection of what is called the divine plan. The single greatest truth that you can open to at this time is to see the scope of your power as a creative being. The divine plan is a process because the divine intelligence that I will refer to often as all that is, could not know itself in its original state. The same way that you need others to learn about yourself, to gain reflection. This is what the divine intelligence that I refer to as all that is experienced. And yet all that is desired to know itself. The obvious solution was to parse itself, to split into pieces, to divide itself. And this is what you are. You are a piece of this divine intelligence, or all that is. Each human, each animal, each being is a portion of this divine intelligence. Each of you has come to experience what it is to be in the form which you find yourselves now. I wish that you get this picture in your mind because for as long as there have been humans, and even prior to that, you have identified as your bodies. You have, in this physical form, perceived that your existence is tied to time. Many of you have had many lives perceiving that when you die, you cease to exist. Your conception of yourself has only very slowly been opening to the truth that you are an energetic being that is temporarily choosing to be embodied in a physical form. One of the effects I wish to invite you to experience today is to observe any and all thought patterns that you carry, including beliefs that keep you tied to your physical form or the span of the life you are currently living. It has been a very long time and a very great number of lives in various life forms lived along the Earth timeline, during which you have given great power to time. And you have, in a number of very critical ways, made decisions about who you are based in your experience of time. In some contexts, you will hear me speak about how you are not your history. You are not what has happened to you. You are not the sum of your experiences. but you are a divine, powerful, creative being who happens to have chosen to have a certain kind of embodied relationship with time. Each and every thought or belief that you carry about your identity as a being tied to time is a limiting thought or belief. I seek to offer you my vibration so that you may attune to it, so that you may see you as I see you, a multidimensional being that exists outside time, yet participates within the time-space dimension where Earth exists, temporarily as you go about your learning journey, as a portion of all that is, or the divine intelligence, learning what it means to perceive itself as separate from itself. So you are coming here and living these lives and being distracted by time, distracted by history, distracted by memory, distracted by your emotions from the past, and your hopes for your experiences that may come in the future. This is part of the human experience. And yet, where you are in the stage of your evolution as conscious beings requires that you alter your relationship with history. It requires that you choose to become present to who you are. A major facet of this is altering your conception of, and therefore relationship with, creation and manifestation, our topic here. It is good to want things. It is fine to do so. As you have lived in duality, you have perceived that when somebody has something, somebody else does not get to have it. You have in many ways grown up. You have matured to a certain level of awareness about desire and wanting, and who gets to have what, when. In other contexts, I speak of this as empowerment, that individuals learn about strength and confidence, and therefore empowerment, in certain ways when embodied as humans. As you have lived through duality, if you get to be strong, somebody else doesn't. You are living in a manifest world of social conditions and cultural intentions that are informed in many ways around what you would know as zero-sum games. This kind of game is when someone wins, someone else automatically loses. Chess, checkers, a race, a debate. Somebody wins and somebody must lose. At least one other person must lose. There is possibly only one winner. This has conditioned you. It has led over thousands of years to many romantic conceptions of heroism that have served you in a certain way to create mythologies that tell you who you are. And yet, this is not who you are. You are not a being that either wins or loses. This is a human construct. This philosophy is in place on Earth right now because you do not see that you are strong, that you are powerful just being who you are. When you adjust to your thinking and you allow in the conception of yourself as divine, powerful, creative being, you will understand more about what is really going on here. This history thus far, this widespread human conception of self, this creation of the world in which you live socially and culturally that affects you so deeply as individuals, has been, in some ways, an experiment. It has been important for you as a collective to learn about strength and power and confidence while living with each other. In a sense, this is to say that it has been important for you to compete with each other to see who gets to have self-confidence when, and why, and for what reasons. What does it take to have self-confidence, you ask? What does it take to be able to take pride in oneself? You are playing out the philosophy in your daily lives. Depending on where you fall on this range of experience. Do you win, or do you do something other than winning in your zero-sum game life? You will have developed identities about your worth. If you are somebody who seems to win, this will help your self-confidence. If you are somebody who seems not to win, this will destroy and limit your self-confidence. In many ways, in many endeavors in which you have engaged in over the course of your many lives as humans all along the Earth timeline, you have developed ideas about who you are. This is foundational to the conversation about creation and manifestation, because as I say to you that you are powerful, divine beings, part of you says, I don't see how that's possible. Look at all the times I have lost in my zero-sum game life. Look at the times I have not been victorious in my competitions. And therefore, look at all the times I have come to define myself as something other than a winner. A part of you craves to hear that you are a powerful, creative, divine being, and that you are in charge of your experience, living embodied as humans on Earth. You need to hear this. Behind this need is an even deeper need for it to be true. You perhaps have heard me speak about the evolution of consciousness that you are currently experiencing, and how you are invited to know yourself as a powerful, divine, creative being, and all the rest. What is happening is that you are becoming unwittingly invited to process your history. Many of you are experiencing a rise to the surface of a great number of emotions, perhaps all at once, perhaps each one in turn. But you are experiencing a great number of emotions that have deeply shaped you in this life, and in fact, whether your conception of life and self and universe and divine intelligence includes the notion of other lives, or the construct of soul having many earth experiences in various human bodies spread out along this timeline. Whether or not this is included in your conception of self, universe, and divine intelligence, all of these emotions have been coming up for you, are in fact emotions from all these other lives. You are actually experiencing them all at once, because from the soul's perspective, there is no such thing as time. Soul exists outside time. Your greatest dilemmas, passions, and fears are in common to all of the lives that your soul is living embodied as humans spread out along the Earth timeline. What is happening now for you is happening in the past. The more that you are conceptually tied to time, the more you conceive of yourself as tied to time, the more that you would be inclined to use the term past life for one of these other lives. From how I see you unfolding multidimensionally, and how I observe your soul observing what you as various humans along the Earth timeline are learning, gathering data, what does it mean to be separate? What does it mean to feel, to perceive myself as separate from Source? What does it mean to forget that I am the divine intelligence itself? What does this mean? You are gathering data and experience. Your soul is learning. Aha, in this life, when I turn left, I learn this. And in this next life, when I come to this same fork in the road, I turn right. I learn this. So all of your passions and fears and dilemmas are in common. Well, what is happening now with this process that I refer to as the evolution of consciousness is that you are being confronted with healing and releasing and processing and reframing and changing your mind about them. Why they happened. If you are not grounded, not choosing conscious awareness, if you are not aligned with what you need to be doing for yourself, and how you need to deepen your evolution of self-care, this can be very confusing. It will seem a repeat of this dynamic from the past. It will seem to be more pain. If you feel victimized, it will seem to be further difficulty to work through or to live through. If you feel a little empowered, you might think of it as homework that you have to do. I wish for you to understand, because this will make it easier for you, you are now processing what has not been processed. You are now being nudged and drawn and led into processing what has not been processed from this life, which is to say all your soul's lives, this life being a microcosm of your entire soul's journey all along the Earth timeline. As you have experienced pain and suffering in these many lives, including this one, the meaning that you have attached to why it has happened is everything. In a nutshell, you are now experiencing all these opportunities in one way, re-experiencing these difficult emotions rising to the surface, ready to be given attention and processed, so that you can change the meaning that you have attached to why they have occurred. Look with honesty and openness within you. Are you somebody who believes that there is a reason that you have had to suffer? Do you believe that you have not been good enough? Do you believe that you have not worked hard enough or done the right things to deserve to be loved? Do you believe the universe is a cruel place? Do you believe that there is nobody on your side and this is why you have suffered? There are innumerable, limitless questions to go with this depending on your own situation. All of this is to say that when I tell you that you are a divine, powerful, creative being, there are parts of you that respond with, "Oh no, that's not me. If I were divine, powerful, creative being, I would not have created all this suffering for myself. What you are telling me is a little bit absurd, and I am not going to listen." Again, while another part of you says, "I need for that to be true. I need to hear this. I need to align with it. And, most importantly, I need for this to be true." So as I share with you here my perspective on the topic of manifestation and creation, as you experience this acceleration of the evolution of consciousness, you are now ready to understand that you have created everything that you have experienced. Good and bad, easy and painful, smooth and rocky. You have created all of it. Before you begin judging yourself and saying, "Oh my gosh, I'm such a bad creator. Look at how I've hurt myself. Oh my gosh, what kind of person would do that?" Before this inner judge kicks in, get grounded. Make a commitment to stay with my vibration as I continue to unfold this teaching for you. Make a commitment not to get sidetracked into these fears from the past that you are not lovable enough for something, for having done something or not done something. These fears that you might turn out to be not worthy of creating and manifesting what is important to you. Do not latch on to those. Stay with my vibration. Stay with me. Take a few deep breaths and stay with me. Why is it that you have created these things for yourself? You are here to learn about what it is to be human. You have come here to learn all the possible ways of living. You have decided to experience fully what can happen when you make certain choices. You have decided to learn about cause and effect while you are embodied, and you have come here to experience being tied to time, temporarily forgetting who you really are, temporarily forgetting your divine nature as the divine intelligence portion of all that is. It is a useful exercise to go through chapters of your history that include suffering, that have brought you pain, to look at these experiences one by one and say, there's a lesson here that I created for myself to learn as I set out as a portion of the divine intelligence, all that is, to learn about how to be human. I selected certain kinds of experiences so that I might learn. These experiences have indeed taught me at the soul level what I came here to learn. I have experienced more of what it means to be human by having that experience, even though it has been difficult. Forgive yourself for having created without conscious awareness. Release the burden of shame for having caused yourself pain. You are not stupid. You are not unworthy of wonderful things. You have simply gone about a certain kind of process without consciousness as a divine, powerful, creative being, so that you can learn what it is to create from that state. Well, friends, now you have learned it. Now you have learned all you can learn about creating and manifesting without conscious attention and awareness of what is truly happening. In your mythologies, the gods affect human life. The gods are the movers of all human experience, and you have given over your considerable power and your capacity to make choices, your willingness to risk inhabiting your true nature. You have given this away to these ideas of gods. I say gods. You might think specifically mythologies with multiple gods, but I'm also referring to your mythologies as your religions. If there is a personifiable God in your religion, this is mythology. I do not say this to put this down or to devalue what it is that you or your peers or your friends or loved ones or families may believe. But for the purposes of this discussion about manifestation and creation, you need to understand that these are mythologies. They are stories that have been constructed to help you understand who you are and how you should be living, and you should be treating each other. So you see, your religions are mythologies. In many ways, many of you actually have come to think of mythologies as irrelevant, but religions as supremely important. Well, your style of religion now is akin to the style that mythologies were living according to many years ago. There is a divine intelligence that is at work, and this is how you describe it to each other. And this is how you develop relationships with the divine intelligence or aspects of the divine intelligence, if there are many, if you perceive of them as multiple. The point being that you have given your power over to the conceptions of divinity. I say again and again, you are powerful, divine, creative being. And I say it with a certain emphasis as I wish to trigger that part of you that does not believe this any longer, the part of you that is ashamed about the prospect of having power. I would like you to take a few moments now and write down what you think about power. What is it? What is power? Make a list. Make a paragraph. Write it out if you like. And let multiple parts of you speak. Write down, in other words, all the different opinions that coexist within you. Seek to stay open, to hear them all, and shame none of them. Judge not one of them. Take an inventory of your conceptions about what power is. That is the first step. The second step is to make a similar list, but this time, instead of what power is, who has it? Who gets to have it? Who deserves to have it? Again, allow all opinions. The third step, what did they have to do to get it? In other words, why do you perceive they have it? What do you believe has happened that has given them power? And then I want you to write down what different parts of you, what every part of you perceives that you have to do to have power. I am saying it in this particular way. I wish to trigger every opinion that comes to you, because the entirety of your human journey along all these points, these chapters, these pockets along the Earth timeline have to date been informed by an experience of power that is rooted in dualism. You have seen strength through the lens of dualism almost exclusively. The next thing I want you to write down is, when is it that you feel powerful? You, personally. What is it? What life circumstance, what dynamics in your life, past or present, make you feel powerful? And then the next portion of your assignment today, this exercise I'm offering you, that I'm inviting you to step into, is to write down what it is that you had to do in order to get to that place where you did feel powerful, where that dynamic or situation arose. What did it take to get there? From this handful of pages that you will write, I want you to see that there are many conceptions within you, and there are many definitions and attachments to ideas. There are many beliefs about power. Feel free to stop reading now and go about that exercise. I invite you to do so, in fact, because as I proceed now with the discussion, it is very important that you are aware of your preconceptions. Again, not judging any of them, but becoming conscious of what it is that you think and why. Feel free to stop reading and go about this exercise. Moving forward, everything that you have experienced in your lives is a manifestation of your power as a creative being. Every single thing that you have experienced in each of your lives is a reflection of your divine power as a creative being. Where it is that you have created pain for yourself, it does not mean what you believe it means. It is not true that you were not strong enough when you were disempowered. It is not true that you were not smart enough. It is not true that you do not work hard enough if you perceive that you lost or were not loved. None of these things is true. None of these beliefs is true. What is true is that you have created a vast array of experiences so that you learn about empowerment and that you can learn about what it takes while you are embodied as a human to create self-confidence, which is to say, self-love. As power and strength have been tied over the course of human history in the human self-conception and the conception of itself as a species to material reality, you have become confused about what strength is and become very distanced from your true nature. As I said earlier, this has been an important part of your evolution as a collective, and therefore as individuals, to forget your true nature. And yet now it is all rushing back to you. As I say to you that part of you wants to hear that you're a divine being who can create your life around you, and then I say there's another part of you that is not sure that you deserve such praise, I want you to see that you have attached a value to power. Living in the manifest world, as humans have created it, physical strength is a real-world manifestation of how you perceive power. Resources and money are another manifestation. resources including connections and skills, networks, even mentors, people who can help you. These are physical manifestations of strength and power. You have tied power to these things, and if you are not physically strong, if you cannot, this is an absurd example, but if you cannot bench press 400 pounds, if you do not have a lot of money in your bank or under your mattress, depending on how you are wired that way, that if you do not have these things, then you are not to be strong. You are not going to be strong. This evolution of consciousness that seeks to drag you back into your awareness of yourself as a divine being in the process seeks to upgrade your conception of power. As I've talked about power, and I've said yes, muscles and money and connections and things, right, in the physical world are tied to power. This is because in order to achieve strength and confidence, and therefore self-love, through the lens of duality, it has, yes, worked exactly how it has worked. So again, I invite you to see the meaning that you have attached to these things. The last time that you wanted something, and you did not perceive that you could budget it, you could not afford it in the moment, what did you think and feel? Did you feel disempowered because you had $320 but not $395? Did you feel empowered when 2 weeks later the other $75 landed in your lap? I wish for you to see how your willingness to love yourself may in fact be tied to your bank balance. That is not all that this topic is about, but that is a fantastic way to illustrate what I'm speaking about, because through the lens of duality, you have been taught about certain ways to manifest and create. Well, now I'm here today to invite you to change the game. I'm inviting you to take a higher perspective and to step outside the way this game works enough so that you can see how it really works and that you do not have to live through duality any longer. It has been important for the collective evolution and therefore individual evolution, and yet it is no longer important. You have learned all that you can possibly learn through living through a duality. If somebody else is strong, I cannot be strong. If somebody else gets what he or she wants, I cannot have what I want. Observe how disempowering this history of life on earth has been when seen consciously through the lens of duality. I bring you this picture today of your true nature, and I say, you are a divine, powerful, creative being, and you can be whatever you want. In order for you to open to moving forward, you must catalog and then change your relationship with your history. A few moments ago, I asked you to evaluate your conceptions of power. Who gets to have it? When and why? What they have to do to have power? What you would have to do to have it and be powerful? That is one side of this, and yet there are many aspects of this history, including your relationship with resources of various kinds, when you do have them and don't have them. It is easier to care for yourself. Have you given yourself permission to care for yourself when you have resources? Do you perceive that you need certain resources in order to treat yourself with love? Have you tied love to manifest world and to manifest things? You must change your relationship with these memories. You must reframe them and ultimately refile them. Change all the little labels on the file folders and then change the label on the drawer of that file cabinet. You'll have a drawer, for example, that is labeled defeats. And when you didn't win the spelling bee, a file was created. When you came in third. When you were turned down for a loan for some reason, a file was created. When somebody you cared about left you, perhaps a file was created for this cabinet, defeats. You will change this label to teachings, because as a divine being seeking to learn what it is to be human, you need the reflection of others, and you have done this as long as there has been life on earth through the lens of duality. Strength becomes strength over, and power becomes power over and overpowered. Do what you can to open to this truth. Shift your conception of what it is that has happened to you. When you can get to the point where you are grateful to your teachers, to those who have hurt you, those who have seemed to cause you pain, you can accept responsibility for having created that pain and that dynamic to teach you what your soul, what you as the divine essence, the divine intelligence, all it is, has come here to learn, and why it has chosen to become manifest in human form, what it has incarnated here to learn. Everybody who loves you is a teacher. Everybody who hates and or hurts you is a teacher. Become grateful to all of them. Shift why you think this history has unfolded. Change your mind about what it has meant. When you accept responsibility for what you have created, you put yourself in the position to be conscious of your life as a divine creation of all that is. When you accept responsibility for all you have created so far, and you can see all the wonderful, shiny, happy moments that fill your photo albums, and you can see all of these files that have thus far been labeled defeats and been filed under defeats in this file cabinet, when you can see each of them as teaching you what you set out to learn, and you can see everybody involved as a teacher for you, then you take responsibility for your creation. As I say, express gratitude to all of these teachers, to each one in turn, for what they have participated with you in learning. And you have taught them too. They may not be as grateful to you as you are now about to choose to be to them. This does not matter. Be grateful. This is your journey we're talking about, your evolution as a divine being, your part of the perfection of the divine plan of all that is, while split off and embodied in all these discrete bodies, remembering exactly who it is while it is incarnated. Now take a moment and make a list of painful scenarios in your life, painful dynamics, painful relationships, painful turning points that you have experienced. Be honest about how you feel about these things, what you will want to do, what a part of you should say, may be inclined to do, is edit the thoughts that arise. Something could be so painful that you are embarrassed that it happened, that you're not sure how to deal with it or file it. You have no idea how to express it, so you sort of don't want to name it. A part of you is terrified to admit this into consciousness, because then you have to do something. I simply want you to write it down, a word or two or three or four, what you would have on a label. What would you type in that file? I want you to write it down, a list of these experiences. And then I want you to categorize them. Which one had to do with money? Which one had to do with trust? Which ones had to do with understanding you or your lovability? Which ones had to do with any other category? You may find that these few that I have named are not categories for you. So you should, in that case, make up your own categories. Look at what these situations had in common. See the common thread. As you list situations from your life, you may have 3, maybe you have 35,000. There is no particular number that you should have, though that's quite a range, isn't it? 3 to 35,000. You beings are actually so complex in your memories, so multi-layered, that it is possible to have many, though of course 35,000 is quite an exaggeration. Come up with some categories, as many categories as seem appropriate. You might need to, after you write this list down, come back a few days later. You might have some things triggered, and it might not be comfortable for you to continue thinking about these things. Though my intention is that my vibrations support you enough that you can begin to see them and spend a little more time with these labels, with the name of each experience, and to have them coexist in your consciousness without having you feeling shamed or have all the pain rush up at once. So you should not have to do that to experience that. Let's say that trust is one of the things that led to pain in the past. Let's say that you have 11 things on your list and 4 of them are about trust, or had trust as a prominent feature in that thing that brought you pain. There was a betrayal or something like it. I want you to understand that if you have a list of things that have hurt you, and you can come up with categories, and there is more than one in any category, then that category that has multiple entries is a major area of life learning that you set out to learn about. We can know for certain that these themes, these categories are themes that you as soul, you as divine creator, have signed up to learn about. Observe that these people who have participated with you in this, the people who have seemed to hurt you, or the people that you have seemed to hurt being teachers for others, have actually, as souls, signed up to go through this process of learning about trust together with you as humans. All of this is to help you see more about how to accept responsibility for the history that you have created, for the learning journey that you have constructed for yourself, with the help of these very kind souls and karma mate teachers. Anybody who can hurt you with lasting effect is a karma mate, meaning there is an agreement at the soul level and placed between you to support you in learning the lesson of the journey that you, each of you, has set out to learn. This is just a fact. These contracts, these agreements are in place so that you learn. They are not in place so that each party or one party feels pain. They exist to teach you, and pain is part of the learning as you live on earth. So all of this talk about your history is to support you in making these lists and getting to the place where you can understand more about how it is that you have set out to create these lives for yourself and these experiences that teach you what you came here to learn, what you are here to learn. The next phase is looking at those categories, the themes that you have created from your list, that you have organized the entries into. And then you use your creative mind and your inspiration to create choices now about learning lessons according to those themes. This is conscious creation. If you have 11 things on your list and half of them are in one category, wow, that is really serious category for you. That indicates a life theme that is very central to your learning journey as a human, as a divine being, having forgotten temporarily that you are divine and playing at being a human who is separate from source, bouncing off all these other humans, trying to learn these lessons that you are learning. That would be a major category. So how is it that you could approach this proactively? Let's continue with the example of trust. Look at what in your life now is focused on trust. Look at how your responses to life are shaped by those experiences that have to do with trust. Understand the baseline of where you are now. Look into, with some detached thinking and observation, how could I address the issue of trust in my life in a proactive way? Well, one way is to risk confiding in another. Look at the link between when you perceive that your trust is not being respected or honored or held close to someone's heart, how that will shape you later, and how an antidote to a hesitancy to trust from a past situation is to open to trust now. You will, in fact, perceive it as much larger of a risk than in fact it is. But it is a risk. You are risking changing a pattern. You are risking proving yourself wrong regarding the belief that was shaped after the time you were betrayed. What are the proactive ways that you can manage this energy in your life? What are the proactive ways that you can discern and then make choices in this arena of life? It is true that whatever themes you are experiencing, if you are not consciously creating experiences, if you are not consciously choosing how you experience this, you will be unconsciously drawn to experiencing them in whatever way happens to be going on around you. This is to say that as a divine, powerful, creative being, you actually have learned most of your life lessons over the course of many lives by not making choices, but allowing life around you to choose an expression for you. In any life arena where you perceive a pattern of painful experiences, understand that most of the time you have been waiting for life to act upon you, and it simply has. When you do not choose your expression, when you do not choose how you will express a portion of your energy field, there is a default choice that is made for you based on however you are vibrating and the resources that happen to surround you at that time. Back to the example of trust. 10 years ago, a friend betrayed you, and you have worked to forgive this person, and you perceive you have. And yet, you might not be open to trusting again on a certain level because of that experience. So now you are vibrating, I am not open to trust. And there is a path to trace. Well, why? Because I was betrayed. Basically, that sends the signal you are broadcasting energetically. You are vibrating the frequency that I don't trust, I can't trust, I shouldn't trust, I trusted, and it was a mistake. I am not open to trusting. So you will either draw people to you that you cannot trust, or draw people to you that you could trust, but you refuse to trust, or they don't trust you. And this whole dynamic of games, essentially, that can serve to teach you about trust. And yet they are, in truth, many times complex, multi-layered wastes of time that leave you pained. As you draw many of them to you, they can serve to remind you that trust is an issue until you are conscious enough to make proactive choices. Yes, I'm trying to paint for you the optimistic view, but in reality, you can notice you have 10, 20, 30 years of a pattern and a certain kind of dynamic, and you will feel like you've wasted your time because of the repetition. You have not seen the higher picture. You have not seen the greater view of why you are creating it. This is what I wish to share with you today, to lead you into seeing why you have created something. It is because you needed to learn about that theme. So now, with trust, I say choose to confide in somebody. Forget what rules you have already decided must be in place, What factors might determine okay times to trust another? What features of personality and dynamics must be in place for you to actually open to someone to trust? Because those rules have been shaped by these past experiences that were painful. This risk in proving yourself wrong is to do it now without that history involved. Now, if you do not choose, in this example, to confide in someone, then life brings to you reflections of what you're vibrating, which is, I can't trust, I do not trust, people are not trustworthy. So as you choose it, you step into the driver's seat of your learning journey as a divine being, learning what it is to be human. Regardless of the pain you may be carrying about trust issues, for example, knowing that trust is a life theme that you are exploring in a very significant way is critical. Acknowledge this. Whatever theme we could talk about from your list that was seen in the pattern of categories that you divided your list entries into, whatever life theme that we could talk about, now decide to be proactive in your living when it comes to this theme. You can even say, I don't know how long this is going to happen, but I'm going to become more proactive. I choose to become somebody who chooses now that I learn these lessons. I choose conscious awareness of why I came here. Make a commitment like this, and it will set the stage for you to learn how to do this proactively. But again, you might not know how to do that yet. Say, I choose to learn this. I choose to get back to the driver's seat of my life, even if I do not yet know how it will happen. Now, for the context of the empowerment, self-love, self-confidence conversation that we are engaged in earlier, taking control of the wheel of the car of your life, we could say. I was saying get in the driver's seat, so I will continue with that image. Taking control of where this vehicle is headed is stepping into your power. As you do this, you might encounter many parts that say, oh, I could never be that strong. I could not be that confident. It is not what I'm doing. I can't do that. I've never done that. People have always told me I can't do that. All of this whiny and disempowered nonsense. Let it go. Don't shame these parts. Don't say, get out, part of me, get out. I don't want to hear that. Don't do that. Say instead, yes, I hear what you think. I understand that I've had that thought pattern. Acknowledge that. And I've decided to make a new direction, to choose to go in a new direction. The perfection of the divine plan rests on you to decide to be in charge of your life. It rests on each individual human deciding to step into a level of self-confidence which acknowledges the true nature of his or her creative aspect as a divine, powerful being. So we've explored some issues in your history, and also this lens of duality I speak about, this lens through which you have lived human history, and the history of life on earth before that. All of that history is based on you being tied to time. All of that history is based on this zero-sum game philosophy, and the philosophy that the conditions of the material world reflect what strength and power really are. I come to you today to tell you about yourself as an energetic being. Consider all that I have said thus far to be the introductory material. It's quite a long introduction, I know, but this is a very complex topic. This picture to share with you is multi-layered, and it has taken that time, many pages, to explore why your mindset is the way it is now. Everything presented in this chapter up to now is what you need to see before we move ahead. Now I invite you to conceive of yourself as an energetic being, and I will explain this. I will go into some level of detail so that you understand this contrast, this difference of worldview, of conception. You do know what it means to be an energetic being. Humans experience energy mostly as emotion. You feel in response to energy. Each of you is conscious of being an emotional being, and you therefore have reference points for what it means to be an energetic being. Have you ever walked into a room where somebody was arguing and you can feel something in the room? Have you ever heard encouraging words and happy, joyous stories from somebody you know is feeling a great pain? You have a reference point for sensing energy. Now, these physical bodies that you inhabit are temporary vehicles, and they are an important part of the journey of being here in this dimension. Remembering that you are an energetic being while you are embodied is a huge part of the manifestation experiment or the divine plan. The manifestation experiment being Source saying, what would it be like if I forgot who I was and split off into a bunch of pieces that bounced off each other? That is the manifestation experiment you are all living. I laugh at this because the complexity and the intensity of the emotions that you experience about your life experience as well, it boils down to this. You, as God and Goddess, Creator, all that is, the divine intelligence, saying, I wonder what would happen if I forgot who I am and started going down there and doing this. That's how it all started. That's why you're here, to find out the answer to the question, what would that be like? It is also my intention, for the record, that the more time you spend with my vibration, the less importance, and sometimes we might say drama, remains attached to your history. It is my commitment to reveal to you the truth of how these things work, including your nature as an emotional being. And as you commit to altering your conception to history, including memories, I invite you to hold space for you to shift how you recall these things, how you conceive of these things, how you carry these things with you, these thought forms and patterns and memories and emotions. Ideally, this is so that you can realize the emotional attachment and the belief that is attached to events in your history as an energetic being, choosing to be embodied in physical form that forgets its natures. Yes, you've been tied to time. You have conceived of yourself as connected to your bodies, and when you die, you die. That's it. Game over. Until you have insisted there is more, and as you have needed to hear that you are more, and that you are part of a greater thing, and that there is divinity, and you are loved by it and connected to it, but over many, many generations and many lives that you have lived, many millennia, it has not been so. You have sought the knowledge and craved it, and not always known, not always felt confident and trusting. What you felt is probably the truth, or is the truth about your true nature and what is going on here. So you have been creating all you have experienced. Got it. Check. You have accepted responsibility for all you have experienced. You have looked at this list of experiences and said, look at what I have made for myself in order to complete my journey. And you have looked at this list, and you have looked at the people who have participated with you in these experiences, and you have said, these are teachers, and I am grateful. Thank you. So what's next? What's next is for you to understand the nature of yourself as an energetic being. When you understand this, you can make choices that are conscious, that are informed by conscious awareness of this true nature and how things are really working here. It is my intention to see you step into your power. It is my intention to see you come out of millennia of disempowerment, of zero-sum games, of feeling that you have lost when you have not won a competition of some kind, to see that you have not become unlovable or unworthy of your love, others' love, or God's love, because you have not been victorious in a competition or a game. In one sense, everything you do as a human, until you figure out what is really happening, is a game. You are seeking to see what happens when it is over. All these games you play with each other that can seem to be or are about competition, you take them very seriously because your self-worth is invested in the outcome. So let us give you a tour of how to operate yourself as an energetic being after you have decoupled your self-worth from the outcome of these various games that you play. I speak about choices and I speak about your free will as integral components of your power. It is time for you to see that when you set an intention and you give yourself permission to have and maintain that intention, that is an act of power. If you are somebody who has created intentions and they have not manifested, I want to make sure that you can understand why. At any one time, there are many parts that are active within your consciousness, many pieces of you, many portions of you. They have different concerns and desires and goals. When you are not grounded, which is to say when you are not centered and intentional about what part of you is going to run your life, there is a rotating cast of parts that fight to get in the driver's seat and take control of the wheel of your life. When you call forth the part of you that is willing to admit strength, and you give the keys of the life car to that part of you, you can begin to manage all these different parts in a more effective way. You can heal this. You can release that. You can change this belief. You can surrender that resistance, etc. All of these different parts, often one by one. What tends to happen when a human is learning the process of manifestation is that the human says, "This is what is going to come to me." And the human believes this, and the human is confident. The part of the human, anyway, that is that day driving the car, then that night another part makes itself known in a dream, and this is experienced upon waking as a fear that the person cannot have what he or she is setting out to create. Then the person says, I guess I'm not that confident. Understand this model, that there are parts of you, different parts of you, with different agendas. It is extremely useful to come back to the original intention, but to be committed to calling forth the part of you that can maintain that commitment, that can hold that goal and vision, and have that part be the part that drives the car of your life. The more intent you are, the more focused and direct you are about the goal, the more you hear from the peanut gallery of all these other parts in the back seat. Sometimes it is a school bus full of rowdy children, each of which has a complaint. So perhaps you should adjust the image of the car of your life into a bus. It depends on where you are in your process and how many parts you are now ready to hear from. But it might be a crowd. Again, don't judge if it is. Just let it be what it is. Go one by one. So you come back to the part of you that is grounded, centered, clear, focused, intentional, and you say, yes, I acknowledge that there are parts of me that have difficulty with this goal. They are afraid of this. They are afraid of that. They are concerned. They are hesitant. They are worried. This is fine. This is what's happening right now. There are many teachings on manifestation, some of which have been brought through from beings such as myself through other channels, other than this one I am using today. And, in some ways, some of these teachings strike the ear of the listener in a certain way that does not help them truly understand the natures of their divine creative power. If the ear of the listener has been shaped and conditioned by millennia of disempowerment via zero-sum games, somebody wins and somebody loses, then there is processing of history that needs to happen. There are many humans now who are manifesting, going through these teachings that you might now call New Age teachings, metaphysical teachings, that are part of that movement or that kind of category of consciousness. Some of them feel very happy with what they are achieving. Then there are other people who are watching those people be very happy with what they are achieving and say, why can I not do that? What is wrong with me that I am not achieving this goal that I have set out? What is it that I do not understand? So what I want you to understand, and this whole talk is leading up to this, when you set out to create something, you automatically are guaranteed to hear from the parts of you that do not believe that you get to do it, that are not open to having faith that you are actually a divine, creative, powerful being, because they have been shaped by painful experiences from the past against future iterations of which they seek to protect you now. Learn to work with them, to heal and process their fears and emotions, and you can step into yourself as the divine, powerful creator that you are.